but another one on the ones and the twos and the threes and the fours. I really feel like in my past life, I was supposed to be like a rapper, a DJ or something like that. Like I should have been on the ones and twos and like all of that stuff, but I'm not musically inclined. Um, they don't even let me play the triangle thing or the tambourine. I have a lot of friends who know how to sing and I'm constantly left out. So yeah, this podcast is how I'm living out my rap dreams. I know. But I didn't become a rapper. I didn't become a singer. Instead, I became a podcast producer. And so this week, I am touching on what I've learned in these 2 years as a podcast producer and just the things that I've seen. Because oftentimes, I think there's a lot of misconceptions with podcasting and what goes into it and what really happens. So let's kind of talk about that. One, yes, you'll notice I like lists. I like order. I like to say 1, 2, 3, 4. I feel like it keeps you engaged. You know what's happening, what's coming. But no, the very first thing is having a large audience really does not mean anything. You'd be very surprised how many people have millions of followers on Instagram, millions of engagement, but those people don't actually resonate and turn into podcast listeners. The reason for this is, I don't know, actually. I think it's twofold. One is the notion around Instagram and social media is really a good tool for brand awareness, which you've heard me talk about in past episodes. When in actuality, a lot of people aren't just getting off of social media platforms to come listen. 1, 2, I think social media has given us so much access to people that sometimes we don't actually care what they have to say. Let's think about it. If I'm already on social all the time, like I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, all the things, I don't know what else is out there. And now these are apps I already have, already use. I'm there all the time and you're always in your stories. You're always posting on social. Like I can see everything that you could possibly think of, what you eat, what you like to do. I see all of that there. Why would I have a need to then go to another platform and listen to you? Have we ever stopped to think about that? So oftentimes I see people who are celebrities. I've worked with a few. I see people who have millions of followers. And at the end of it, their podcast is still not hitting numbers. It's hitting the same type of numbers my independent creators who are clients are hitting. It's doing 200 an episode. It's doing 50 an episode. And it's a mix of marketing dollars, of not really putting the effort behind, because sometimes when you have a large audience, you can be a little lazy. I mean, no offense, but it just can turn into like I know my audience wants to hear from me. But do they? And so, excuse me, that's one of the big things that I always notice is where we don't always see it resonate in the same way. It's not always apples to apples. You have a large audience, so that means here they are coming to tune in. So that's the number one thing I've learned. And it's a hard pill for people to swallow, I think. And it's necessary though. Like I actually love the fact that when somebody who has a super large audience just puts out content, it doesn't just take off. I know you're probably like, oh, that's kind of mean. But here's the reason why. It forces you to actually like take a step back to understand what does your audience want to see and learn from you. It forces them to really delve into the needs of the audience and not so much just whatever I feed people is what they're going to eat. Oh, I like that analogy. Write that down, Matthew. I feel like that was a good snippet right there. Oh, come on, look at me spitting hot fire. But the next thing is people are tuning in for the people. Like, let's be real. Like, there's so many podcasts that are out there about the same topics. Like, Earn Your Leisure, for example, they're super popular because people really like them as individuals. Like, they're not too attractive to where it's like, oh my God, like he's too fun. They're the right level of attractiveness. They come across very personable and they're consistent. And so let's say Joe Smo from up the street puts out the same type of content. The reason people are tuning into Earn Your Leisure is because of who they are and their connection to them. For those who don't know who they are, let's use another example. Any other podcast you can think of that's out there, trust me, there's another podcast that talks about the exact same topics. This is why I always find it to be a problem when people come to me and they want to launch a podcast and they say, I want to be like this show, but I'm going to do it differently. You don't have to do it differently. You can literally do the same exact show and just make sure you have an audience that wants to learn from you specifically. Like those who are here listening or watching this podcast, I assume you're interested in me as the individual. I'm talking about my experience in the podcast space. I'm talking about my experience as an entrepreneur. I'm giving tips on podcasting. All of these things you can pretty much hear from anybody else in the podcast space, but because you're interested in me, the individual, that's why you're here. It's the same concept. If you have a podcast, make sure you're focusing more on yourself and not so much on your guest, because that's literally the number one thing I've learned is that so many people who interview people tend to allow the guests to take over the show. And the thing I always say to clients, and I'll say it to anybody in my community, is if your audience is tuning in week after week for the person you have on your show, what causes them to stay once that person is gone? Like, why would I stay? If I came for this one person, they're gone now. I don't know anything about you. You're not sharing anything about you except for that one trailer episode that you did talking about, your interest and why you launched a podcast. But after that, everything else has been other guests. So my big thing is encouraging more clients and independent creatives to do more solo episodes. Like do episodes just by yourself. And you'll notice my podcast is maybe 15 minutes at max because I don't think anybody just want to be sitting here hearing me talk, just staring at cameras. Like that just feels a bit much. And maybe you do. And if you do, let me know. But at the same token, shorter form content, like let's say your podcast is normally 30 to 45 minutes. Your individual episodes can be 15 to 20. But it gives people insights into who you are, what you do, and helping them see why they should want to learn this content from you. 95% of guests who join podcasts, guess what? They've joined 50 other podcasts and they've said the exact same thing. And some people say it a little different each time. I always find those to be the most interesting when I've had a guest be on multiple clients' podcasts and they're telling the same story, but each time they say it differently. I'm always like, which one is the truth? But that's neither here nor there. So that's the second thing I've learned is that you want to make sure that you are showing up for your audience as yourself and on your podcast as yourself so that way people tune in week to week. Like, even if you're not talking about the most exciting thing, it makes a difference if it's you, like your personality, your je ne sais quoi, because I have some je ne sais quoi. You see my je ne sais quoi? My je ne sais quoi is showing. I'm a complete goofball. And I think that's why people like to actually hear from me. And if it's not, you don't have to tell me. Like, I don't need to know. I have a handy dandy notebook. And I normally would tell people, don't read from notebooks. But hey, I'm breaking all the rules. Having a personality matters. Like, I'm literally just sitting in a room under some light with a microphone and some props and 2 cameras. This could get real dry real fast. Like, just real fast. This could be real and then, guys, I feel like you should do. Y'all gonna be like, I don't want to hear her talk about this. This is stupid. So having a personality and showing up with your personality, because there's so many people who I meet them outside of their shows and off your podcast, and your personalities are super amazing. And then I listen to your podcast, watch it, and I'm just like, who is talking and where did that personality go? There's 50 million podcasts out there. I know it's more than that. Do not try to come for me. But there's a lot of podcasts out there. And quite frankly, what causes people to stand out is your uniqueness. Remember how I just talked about, you want to make sure that you're sharing who you are and having solo episodes? It's the same thing. When you have those solo episodes, make sure your personality is joining you on the mic. Because, baby, nobody want to listen to you just be dry. Have your je ne sais quoi. I feel like I just learned this word. I've known this word, but somehow I'm enjoying saying it, and Matthew keeps laughing behind the camera. And so it's making it even funnier because I'm like that kid who every time you laugh at something I say, I will keep saying it. Judge me not. Last but not least, because, I wrote a list, is social media is for brand awareness. Social media does not always matter. I know some people who have super amazing podcasts who have no social media presence. I mean, there's not really much on social for them. So this notion that you have to be on social and be on every single channel, it's a lie. So sorry to tell you, it's a lie. Because here's the thing, if you cannot commit and be consistent on any channel, it's not going to go far. So I will always recommend pick one channel and be committed to that. It could be Pinterest for all I care. Or it could be a newsletter and build that email list, but pick something and stick to it and be consistent. Consistency is king, queen. I think it's content is king and consistency is queen. I don't know, but you know what I mean. And so those are some of the big things that I've learned in producing other people's shows. Like I've worked with a range of people with their shows, and each time I'm always surprised when I see that, they have a large audience and it's not really hitting like it should, or they have a large following and it's not hitting like it should. And this is just a show why you'll see celebrities start podcasts and it doesn't last. Like after a season or two, it's gone. And so this for creators, I think I just spit on accident. If you saw that on camera, ignore it. But this for creators should really give you some encouragement, because there's celebrities who are coming with the large budgets, the large marketing dollars, and it's still not hitting. They're not having that longevity. And I think at Black Pod Festival, Nydia Serrano from SiriusXM, she made the comment of, a lot of celebrities and a lot of these big platforms are taking a page from independent creatives in how they market and how they get their audience engaged. So notice that we're doing something right as independent creatives. Yes, I'm an independent creative. I have a business, but I'm independent. And so just keep those things in mind. And as you create content, remember, like, what's your what's your special sauce? And like, I always think my special sauce is like, I'm a trapper. I be trapping. What does that mean? I don't be trapping. I'm really I just be here. But it makes me feel like I could be a DJ because that's what I wanted to be. It's not what I wanted to be, but I feel like I could do it. I don't know. Y'all just go with me. But I hope you found this information helpful. I feel like I always end these episodes the exact same way. Please, somebody, anybody, send me a message, a DM, an email of how I can close out these. Because I feel like a news anchor. Like if anybody watches Firefly Lane, and how Gilly was trying to figure out how to start closing out the news, that's me. So each episode, I'm going to try out something new. So until next time, guys, this was The Trapper. No, that wasn't it. But thanks for tuning in. Until next week, y'all, have a good one. I need to stop saying that.